The making of She Loves You. Beginning. Turk's Hotel of Newcastle. In a room of this hotel was where on June 26, 1963, after a concert in Majestic Ballroom, what would be known as Beatlemania began to take shape.
How long do you think Beatlemania will last?
As long as you all keep coming.
Paul has the idea of an answer song written in third person. And sitting face to face in separate beds, he and John begin to compose She Loves You. And it's the next day, back in Liverpool, when they finish the song at Paul's house. Once the song was written, John said, we needed more, so we added, yeah, and we liked it. After the yeah came the woos, which we borrow from Twist and Shout of the Isley Brothers. We put them everywhere, from Me to You, to She Loves You. Recognizes in 1980 in an interview. But the yeah, I don't know where they come from, he said. According to Cynthia Lennon, his first wife, the idea of the song would go back to his first Christmas. John had written her a love letter in which he said, our first Christmas, I love you, yeah. McCartney remembers that, immediately after the song was over, they played it to their father on their acoustic guitars. We went to the living room and said, Dad, listen to this. What do you think? To which he replied, it's not bad, son, but it's already fine with so much Americanism. Can't you sing it like, She Loves You, yes? At that point we fell apart, and I replied, no, Dad, you haven't got it.
He would say things like, we wrote She Loves You. Yeah. And he'd say, son, there's enough of these Americanisms around. Couldn't you sing yes? Just for once, couldn't you? You don't understand, Dad. It can't be yes. It can't, it wouldn't work. Are you sure? And all that. But, that's great. That's Dad's, isn't it? Like, can you sing yes? That's
Made to take advantage of the wave of success of From Me to You, and inspired by the song, Forget Him by Bobby Rydell, American singer. She Loves You is the first single of the Beatles to reach the 1 million copies sold. The group recorded it on July 1, 1963, 5 days after it was written. It was a 5-hour session at the traditional Amy's Studios in London. That same day, I'll Get You, B-side of the single released was recorded. The single comes out in Britain on August 23, 1963, and achieves formidable success. In the United States, faced with the persistent rejection of Capitol, Brian Epstein, Beatles manager, is forced to negotiate his commercialization with Swan Records, leaving VJ. It goes unnoticed in its first release on September 16. But takes off after a second release in mid-January 1964 and reaches the top of the charts on March 21 of that year. Realization. Norman Smith, who was the sound engineer on all the albums that the Liverpool group recorded between 1963 and 1965, and then became a producer with Pink Floyd, recalls, I was plugging the microphones when I saw the words of the new title on a music stand, She Loves You, yeah. I said to myself, oh my God, what a title, it gives me that I will not like this topic. But when they started to sing, it was great. I jumped all over the cabin. George Martin, known as the fifth Beatle, was his music producer. He remembers that he did not like the sixth chord with which the song ended, an idea of George Harrison. The effect seemed too jazzy and outdated, in the style of Glenn Miller. But at the insistence of the group, that found it great, he had to accept. The recording of the song She Loves You marks a turn in the Beatles' career and symbolizes the madness of the emerging Beatlemania. Hundreds of fans invade the studios, and stimulated by the turmoil that reigns in the place, the four musicians perform a quick and overexcited interpretation of the theme. Unfortunately, the files of this recording have been permanently lost. Technical data. As for the guitars, it's without a doubt from this theme when George adopts his new Gretsch Country Gentleman. In the studio, Norman Smith continues to improve his recording method. From now on, he uses a compressor to limit the level of variations that are too wide. Place a micro, STC-4038, on top of Ringo's drums, which gives a more precise sound and allows the rhythm section to breathe better. Finally, he moves the voice microphones further away from the drums. And it's this configuration that he will use until his departure in 1965. Extra data. She Loves You is the first song signed by Lennon-McCartney. With the exception of the French edition of a 45 RPM, that despite a correct reissue on the album cover, is still attributed to McCartney-Lennon on the back of it. Unique fact in the Beatles' work. The song will reappear in 1967 in the recording of All You Need Is Love, when John and Paul resume at the end of the coda, the famous She Loves You, yeah yeah yeah. Prisoners in the studio. Geoff Emerick remembers that on the day of the recording of She Loves You, the group was in a photo shoot in front of the Abbey Road studios. The news spread very fast, and fans huddled in the street to see their new idols. When the Beatles tried to return to the studio, hundreds of girls had invaded the halls and dining room, overflowing to the few police officers destined to maintain order. It took hours to restore calm. And since that day, the Beatles made discreet entries and never used the dining room again. They became, according to Emerick, virtual prisoners in the studio. In November 2004, Rolling Stone magazine ranked She Loves You at position 64 on its list of the 500 best songs of all time, as it would be on the reviewed list of 2010. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, subscribe, activate the bell and leave a like. There is more to come.